Hi everyone, welcome to The Bridge. I'm your host, Kira Young, and you've reached me on Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com. Let's see if we can bring our partners in over there at Real Liberty Media. We're going to go ahead and simulcast with them tonight too. It looks like we're streaming now over there. Tonight I'm continuing my series with the K-Bear people. We've got some cross-pollination going on, and it's so far been really good, and I hope everybody enjoyed last week's show as well with JP Sears. That was a lot of fun, and it was pretty exciting for me as well. Just a short little update before I get my guest in here with the Yellow Thunder food sovereignty. Right now we've got a bunch of zucchini and cucumbers, and the tomatoes are all about to come in. And what we're planning on doing with all the tomatoes is we're bartering with our local really good Mexican place. And so they're getting the tomatoes, and we're going to get credit to be able to eat all the tacos that we want. So we're bartering. So that's going to be really cool. And so far the cucumbers and the zucchini has been feeding the 6 families that we helped out last year, and ourselves as well. So we're trying out different recipes and having fun with that. So if you all did not hear my past 2 shows that I've done with K-Bear people, the first one was with Jeff in the morning. That was a really great show, and he introduced us to the concept of K-Bear, which is the radio station from Northern Exposure, and basically a bunch of people that were really into Northern Exposure got together, and Wolf, who I interviewed the week before last, DJ Wolf, basically created this radio station, and it's a lot of fun. They have a lot of really good shows. My guest coming up is Smokie Bernstein, and he has a Saturday morning show, and it starts at 9 a.m. Eastern. So hopefully maybe some of you caught that show this morning for the first time. I'm going to go ahead and give him a call. He's not a Skyper, so I'm going to call him by phone, and we will get him in here. Let's see if it... Here we go.
Hello.
Smokie Bernstein.
Yes.
Welcome to the Bridge.
Thank you, Ms. Young. How are you doing?
Doing great.
All right.
So I was just telling the folks who perhaps haven't heard the other 2 shows I did with K-Bear people about the concept of the station.
Right.
And those who aren't hardcore fans of the show might not really know how clever your name is.
Yes.
So do you want to tell people where that comes from?
Sure. There was an episode when Dr. Joel is on a little plane trip to a little town giving a birthing class, and they're doing visualization, and his visualization was at Smokie Bernstein's, thinking of the spare ribs in the deli in New York City. And so when I found out about doing this DJ gig, I thought, well, Bernstein, my last name is Bernstein. I could do something with that, and Smokie kind of sounds like smoky.
Yeah.
And I loved the smell of a fireplace, so it kind of goes together. So that's where that came from.
So
Yeah.
just like Wolf does that weird thing with the 2 V's making a W, why do you have the little line underneath the O in Smokie?
Oh, because of the font, the Northern Exposure font. It was one of the first things I downloaded on the internet back in the late 90s, I guess it was, 99, something like that. There's a specific font where all the credits, not in the first season, but in later seasons, the O's are all underlined. So that's just the way that font works.
Oh, okay.
So that's where I got that from. Yeah.
Wow, there's a Northern Exposure font.
Yeah. And then I tried to find it from my new computer, but I couldn't, but I was able to transfer it from my old one. So I don't know if it's out there still somewhere. I'm sure someone could create it, I guess. But yeah, that's the funny little things you find when you're passionate about something, I guess, right?
And sometimes they're not as meaningful as you might imagine them to be.
Right, exactly. Sometimes it's just a little thing. Yep.
Yeah. So how long have you been doing your show?
Today was my 9th show, I believe. So yeah, a little over a couple months. And it's been so fun, so great. One of my dreams as a kid, and so it's great to be able to do little themes and just play random stuff like I did today, which is also in reference to the character Ed, with this random pattern, trying to figure out who's stealing car stereos.
So it always goes back to Northern Exposure.
Yeah, all roads kind of lead there in my brain and heart anyway.
So,
yeah.
What is it about the show that spoke so deeply to you?
Well, it came out when, I was still in college, and just every different episode was kind of like articulating what my brain was trying to figure out, learning about the world, clash of cultures, the juxtaposition of just beautiful music with great scenery. I love art and photography. And so all of that just came together, but mainly the writing, I would say. And just the way the characters all connected and the sense of community. I was talking about that a little bit on my show today. Mm-hmm. And I think all the DJs have mentioned about how it's this little community, virtual Sicily, through this radio station. It gave me that sense, of belonging somewhere where I could relate. All the male characters, I feel like there's a little bit of them in me, and all, it just cracks me up.
Yep.
You could probably feel that way too, about certain characters. And
it was very clever writing, and I don't actually even think there's ever been another show like it that even compares.
Yeah. There are ones that I try to get that, after Northern Exposure was done with, and I would look at other shows, and there are other ones that kind of touch on it a little bit, but not quite. Like, there are little magical moments of Lost, but they don't have the deeper heart and the deeper spirituality too that's there. Mm-hmm. And it's great because it doesn't have to be any kind of name of one thing. And like the episode Soulmates, how you see all these different characters connecting to what the light is inside of them. That to me is just magic. That's my favorite episode too.
Yeah. And I too was in college when it came out.
Oh, you okay? Yeah. I was wondering.
So, I'm probably a little bit older. I took a year off between high school and college, and but it really focused on a lot of things that I was trying to figure out for myself too. And you mentioned the spirituality that's expressed through the characters in that show, and what really appealed to me about it was that these characters all came from different backgrounds, but yet they found a way to relate to each other spiritually.
Exactly.
Which you just didn't see that on TV,
right?
Before or since.
Yeah, it sprinkles of it, like I said, but nothing where you walk away and go, "Oh, that was church tonight," without any dogma. Even though dogma might be discussed in it, but that feeling of in different levels, and with the humor involved at the same time. That's so clever. Mm-hmm. And oftentimes the humor is in the spirituality. It's like there's a joke in that,
Yes.
Yeah. Oh, that's great. Yeah. Oh, it's very interesting. Yeah.
Do you think you're going to? Are you one of the people that's going to go to this off-season Moose Fest? I guess you should say you're going to. Are you getting together with the big group of people going there?
I am not. They were planning that before I was on the station, and I thought about going, but it's a little tricky because, as you may know, I'm a school teacher, and it's back during the school year, kind of early on, and they're taking like 4 or 5 days. Mm-hmm. I would probably be able to sneak in a weekend, but I think I'm going to wait to the 2018 big get-together in Roslyn. We'll see.
Yeah, we might do that too. And you're...
Oh, yeah? Oh, great.
Yeah. You're out there in California, right?
Right, yeah, in L.A.
In L.A.
North of the main part of L.A., the valley.
Uh-huh. And so, you're a math teacher. That's
I'm actually an elementary. I teach third grade across the curriculum. But I went to a math conference while I wasn't there. So.
Oh, okay.
So I teach, and I was a music teacher before that, and for like 15 years, and also a little bit of regular teaching to fill in a full-time position. So I've been at the school in the Valley for the last 4 years, teaching third grade, which the curriculum, the social studies curriculum is interesting because it starts off with like landforms, but it goes into the whole, controversial topic of, indigenous people, so I incorporate a little sprinkles of northern exposure, certain scenes so the kids can understand, like, well, what's in India for kids that are oblivious to all that, right? Mm-hmm. And there's so many different, you can't lump everybody into one category, no matter whatever ethnic group they are, but, just to give them a little bit of that. And we've been able to have some people actually come in, some Native people come in and share, and they're like, oh, okay, it's not just this myth. These people are out here living, different lives, traditional lives, mixture, and so that way, in that sense, Northern Exposure has opened me up so much, and then reading books like Bury My Heart at Wounded Knee. I wouldn't have probably read that without Northern Exposure, so it's just been interesting on that level too.
Yeah, and I think it opened that up for a lot of people, and who knows, like, really how much of an effect that show had in terms of that.
Yeah, and so it's been good, and the kids, because you have to be careful in third grade. You don't want to give them too much reality, but you don't want them to be the whitewash version of, have that knowledge either. So it's a balance, and I do it through some music too, and some videos, and YouTube has just been great for that, and it's a lot of fun.
So how do you handle Thanksgiving?
Good question. I show them a couple of little scenes of the Thanksgiving episode. And so we talk about the humor of, well, what is a tomato being thrown at white people? It's a joke, but it's like one little reality of what does that symbolize? So we do a lot with symbolism, just from the basics of like maps, reading maps, to symbols in literature, and to just things like that. So we talk about, empathy is a big part of my classroom, and so it's about getting people aware of, well, what is Thanksgiving? So they've known the story pretty much going through the grades, but they get a little twist on it in the third grade. Does
California still do Columbus Day?
It does, yeah. But I saw that, I think it was either Seattle or the whole state made it Indigenous Day. I think, I forget, but is that right? Yeah. So on Columbus Day, we talk about that, and we talk about, again, it's perspective. I do talk about how, it was brave of him and these explorers to do what they did, but there was also this disrespect, and sometimes the kids are kind of floored because they're so sweet, and they're like, well, everybody should just be treated equally.
Yeah, yes.
So it's interesting. In my previous school, the fifth grade teacher did this really clever thing with the art teacher, and they put together a panel. In fifth grade, it was more appropriate for this. And there was there was Columbus, and there was somebody from one of the eastern tribes there, and what's his name? Like Sir Walter Raleigh, all those people, and then an alien, and all their perspectives of whose land, who discovered what, So that was a lot of fun to see that. But so that's been good. I've noticed through the years, like, kids, they're more and more open-minded about those kind of things. You know?
About a lot of things, I really think. Sorry, I'm just getting a producer message here. I'm going to mess with your audio just a little bit. There we go. Okay. And we're fine right now on Revolution Radio, but our simulcasting, I just needed to do some stuff with the sound there. Okay, hopefully that's better for you. And it's because you're on a phone. It's a little bit harder with the sound.
Oh, it's a little teeny. Sorry.
That's all right.
I'll try to talk a little deeper, like when I'm half awake from Saturday morning early. Okay.
Yeah, because
how's that?
That's great. 9 o'clock there. 9 o'clock here is like 6 in the morning. So you're up at 6 o'clock on a Saturday mornings,
right?
With your tunes.
Yes, exactly. Yeah, my cat started waking me up in the winter around that time, around 6, and so I just started getting up early with the cat. Now we have 2 cats, and so they were playing in the middle of the night. So I was a little more tired today. But that's how, it's kind of funny how little events like that I was thinking back, circling back, like how did I end up doing the DJ thing? Well, it was that. My cat started waking me up early. I was Facebook friends with DJ Wolf, and they were talking about how they don't have a show on Saturday. And so I said, hey, I'm up. I'll give it a try. And I've always loved sharing music. I share music in my class when I can, and so it's funny how that works.
And kids love music. And it actually is a better way to learn. The amount of Lakota language that I know, I learned by learning the songs.
Makes sense.
You really do learn a lot.
Okay. I wasn't sure if you were Lakota or part Lakota or what.
I'm Choctaw by blood and Scotch Irish. And then, and Ed is Prairie Band Potawatomi and Northern Cheyenne, but we're both adopted into the same Lakota family.
I see.
So we sang on a Lakota drum when we first got together. So we know those songs. They were given to us by our Lakota brother.
I see.
So we sing Lakota. We speak Potawatomi a lot when we're out. It's sort of what we use as our code.
Sure.
For, when we're out in public and we want to speak in code to each other. Yeah. And I'm attempting to learn Choctaw. I know a few things. I can say a few things in Choctaw. But yeah, it's a challenge
cool.
when you're never like totally immersed in the language.
Right.
But I'm still amazed at how much Lakota I could pick up just from learning the songs and how quickly I picked it up. So I might actually have some sort of language gift that I just didn't realize I had, because I picked up. I still remember 8th grade French.
Really, I'm still the opposite. It was the hardest thing for me. I express myself visually. I didn't talk much until 1st grade. My daughter's the same way, very quiet. But she uses her body. She's a dancer, gymnast person. That's her language, So it's interesting how that is.
Mujiki and our son is also visual. He's a visual artist, and he didn't talk much until about 4. But then once he started, it was,
Yeah, and they don't stop.
Yeah.
They're a certain company, too, and all that, yeah.
But he certainly was observing, and that's very much understanding what was going on. Just didn't have much to say until about 4.
So he was ready.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. Oh, that's funny.
Always been a good traveler, too. We started going to powwows when he was a baby. And so he just got used to traveling. And then my mom's got basically I lived a nomadic existence. We drove from coast to coast and all around. We would settle, but then we would move. But yeah, I've literally, as a child, ridden with my mom from Pennsylvania to Philadelphia to San Diego in 3 days with my mom.
Wow.
It was like Cannonball Run.
Oh, I remember that movie. That was funny. Maybe we are the same age. That reference. Oh, that's funny. Wow, yeah, my poor daughter has, had mostly car sickness all the time, but she's getting better. We drive through a little canyon to get to the beach to avoid all the traffic, so she puts up with that. That's only 20 minutes, but she's getting better.
Yeah.
And,
that's rough.
wow, yeah.
I had
Traveling
that as a child, but it didn't last for very long. I got used to it.
Yeah.
We have to train our dogs because we can't get them in a car without throwing up.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
I guess animals can get it too. I never thought of that. Yeah.
So I adopted them from Canada, and they vomited the whole way from Canada back to Virginia. Poor things.
I bet you could have some interesting, travels with Charlie or whatever. Like modern Steinbeckian travels. Travel logs. Do you journal when you do all this traveling? Well, you do less now, I guess, but.
Yeah.
When you were growing up, would you have little books and drawing, and you did?
Yeah, I have
so cool.
Poetry books even from when I was a kid. I've been writing poetry as long as I can remember.
Oh, really? Neat.
Yeah.
Oh.
Yeah.
My daughter's just getting into that. Yeah, poetry. That was my early way into songwriting, and messing with music, and
Do you think there's
great.
a difference between songs and poems, or do you think some can be both but not all?
Yeah, I think it depends on the feeling and what's trying to be put across. Because it depends. Like one time, I had this moment where we were doing this. This was for more upper grades. We were just in the old school as a music teacher, the art teacher. We were working on works from the Transcendentalists, like like Emerson, Frost, and Thoreau, all those guys, in New England, and I was able to stick some of that poetry to a Little Women soundtrack, and it just worked. So sometimes it worked, even though it was just poetry for poetry, and I had kids sing some of it, so that was neat. So sometimes that's it, and then other times, it's like the songwriting process. Sometimes, you have the words just come to you, or there's a riff, or there's a melody.
Yes.
It's so interesting, that whole process.
So you're not entirely visually oriented, because songwriting is a very audio oriented, and poetry, like when I write a poem, I hear it.
You hear the rhythm.
I hear it.
Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
So that's
it's true. I think because I guess that's why I love Northern Exposure so much, because whenever I hear music, I just see it like it's a soundtrack to me. So that's the visual part that's so strong. But I love the musical aspect too, and the auditory and the rhythms. And that's how I also teach fractions in my class, because they get a little more sophisticated in third grade. I have elementary kindergarten blocks, old school wood blocks, and I have those broken up like with whole note, half notes, quarter notes, eighth notes. And so that's kind of going back to like what you're saying, rhythm, and helps with memory and all that. So I try to do a little of that, and but that's like the more math-driven part of that. Like some people could just read music so well. I feel it and see it more, although I can read music. But it's just interesting how that is. It's different.
Yeah. I was never taught to read music, so I do have songs that come to me for the drum, on our drum, and I just would hear them, and then I'll record them. So, but I don't know what the notes are or anything, and I have a good ear, so if somebody is singing, I can sing an octave above them or below them, and I just know what it sounds right. Yeah.
That's cool. I love that intro song that you play on the show.
Thank you.
They wanted to, that's great. With the layers, and so fun to hear that. Technology has been so good for music in some ways, but like in that way, being able to dub your voice and just so easily with little devices, it's so cool.
And I didn't, I didn't mess with my voice. That is just the recording of my voice. It's just layered. So I sang 4 parts and then put them together. And it might bother the native ear to hear that, because, I do sing it differently. It's an adapted entry song.
Okay. Right.
Lakota, like a powwow, an entry song, so it may like annoy or offend. The first time actually Majigir heard it, he was like, I don't like it. But then I think it's grown on him. So because for me, it kind of sounds like, like a non-native singing a native song in a way.
Yeah, it's kind of like a fusion-y combination. Yeah.
Like, it took a lot for me to put it out there, and still sometimes I get, like self-conscious about it. Because there's all this sort of, do you have a right to do that? Or you're not native enough type of, tapes and stuff going on.
Right.
And I'm putting it out into the public. And when I sing live, I can just get into a zone, and everybody's attention is on the dancers. So I don't have to really worry about it as much, and people more respond too. And we're all singing together. It's not just me.
Right. I see.
But for me, like putting those songs out has been an exercise in accepting that I am, both, that I sound both native and non-native at the same time. Like, it's okay because that's what I am. So it's okay to sound that way.
Yeah, I have that. I kind of walk that weird balance in my class, sharing music, and the kids want to sing certain things, and certain native songs that are in songbooks I've used, and I've done with some performances, but out of respect and all that. But the performances in the classroom, it's not like to sell anything. But it's always, I feel a little weird. I have no native blood in me, but I feel that music, and I love white sage. I grow white sage. I burn a little in my classroom after PE, or if the kids are out of order.
Yes. And the elders would say that, you live here, and the dust that blows across your face every day is from the ancestors, and so you're steeped within their framework. I don't know.
Yeah, that makes sense. Yeah.
So it speaks to you because you live on this land. I mean, this is where you are, and it's a good thing. We sometimes we're a little too worried about cultural appropriation.
Right. I almost feel right.
And we get
anti-racist or something. Yeah.
And we get too scared, and then that actually keeps us from sharing our stuff with each other.
Right.
I know because I feel it too, so but I work through it. And the exit song for the last show, I added a victory song. That's a Lakota victory song.
Right.
So I'm actually singing in Lakota, whereas the intro song is just vocables.
Okay.
So there's no words in that song.
Right.
But I actually prefer to sing in language. I like. Yeah.
Yeah, there's something about it, Yeah, even, when I sang in a choir and we sang some stuff in Latin that, it's just all those vowel sounds. I loved it, even though I wasn't into the full-on Christian way of where the song was coming from. The beauty in the music itself, I could just appreciate that. And it was, it's interesting, the sounds. You could just feel them, and not necessarily have to be a part of the bigger thing, but at the same time being respectful.
Yeah. For a while, when our son was young, I used to take him to this Baptist church.
Nice.
Because he loved the singing and the dancing and so much, and the community. And even sometimes now he asks me about it, like, can we go back there, and why did we stop going, and so
cool.
Yeah.
We were just talking about that the other day, because I heard some song on the radio, and I thought, it'd be cool to go to a Baptist church to really feel that gospel thing,
Yeah.
We go to a Unitarian Universalist church, which is pretty, liberal, if you're familiar with them, and pretty open. So
even more so than the Quakers.
Yeah, exactly.
And
their songbook is great because they're even some reggae tunes in the newer version, the newer hymnal. A little bit of everything.
Very inclusive.
Yes, exactly.
The Unitarians are very inclusive. Yeah. I would say the Quakers are too. I was raised Quaker, and
wow.
they were like, my mom became convinced. They don't call it converted. They call it convinced. When I was 13. And at the time I was like this punk rocker, and, everybody was always staring at me and everything. And when I went into Quaker meeting, nobody batted an eye. I was just one of them. So I was like, okay, I can deal with this. This is cool. Yeah. Even like the oldest of the old people, they didn't care.
There it is right there.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. So I've always, like that I had that from Gwynedd Friends in Pennsylvania, and there was a retirement community across the street, and all the old folks would come over, and they really had some incredible things to say in meeting. And Quaker meeting doesn't have like a preacher or anything. Everybody's equal, and they sit in facing pews, and they sit together in silence. And then go ahead. At a certain point during the meeting, somebody is moved by the Spirit to speak, and so they get up and they say what they have to say, and then they sit down, and then by the time somebody else gets up and says something, you're really kind of on the same wavelength as them, and it's a pretty profound experience. It's like a group meditation, but yet there is some talking expression.
Yeah, I got excited because I realized what you were talking about, and I was interrupting you.
That's all right.
Like, oh yeah, that's right, but I'm interrupting.
That's all right. But I've also experienced Unitarian. I used to work for the Unitarians in State College, Pennsylvania.
Oh, cool.
So, yeah, I like the Unitarians. And Unitarians were like the first people to do gay marriages, too.
Right. Yeah, we had some marriages at our church, and they were, along with the Quakers, abolitionists, back in the day.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So
good history there. And our son goes to Quaker camp every summer, and we've started this thing with them where we take our drum out and teach the kids about Native cultures, and they sing. They hear us sing, and then at the end they come and sing with us, and it's really great. And this time I had this what they call a leading in Quaker speak, to tell the children that we were making history then, to not to remind them how Quakers and Natives have had a long history of getting along really well together. And then I said, and here, we're making history here, and we're part of that history of us getting along and sharing. And
I love it.
Yeah.
I wish you all lived out here. You could come visit my class.
Well, you never know. Yeah, that would be great to visit your class. What are you seeing in the kids now that noteworthy sort of things that you're seeing in your class?
Well, yeah, like I was saying, definitely more open-minded, but it varies. Every class has its own rhythm. It's been so interesting. Each year, they're a little different. One thing that I think overall, I'm sure you've seen it out there in the media, it's like there's so much instant gratification out there. That's always a little bit of a challenge when kids are stuck with something. Or, there's, we don't really have that many behavior problems, but it can come up in that of like, well, I just want to do this, and I want to do it now. There's a little bit of that. Not so much at the school, where I am now, but it's there. It's not like it's perfect. It is a little bubble in the valley, but it's not also closed off either, so. But I do see a general thing with that. And fine motor skills are weak overall because of all of the swiping on the iPad and all that. And not just that. I think also it's kids not getting out as much because there's less communities to get out in, or safe ones, or ones that appear safe. All that kind of stuff. I think a lot plays into it. But those are the two little things that come to mind right away.
Yeah, the big changes. That I see is that early computer use. So I see both. They have great ease as far as they catch on to how to use the computer and electronic devices very, very quickly. And our son was watching how-to YouTube videos at 4 years old, so that he could teach himself how to draw the cartoon characters he wanted to draw. So
that's where the technology is so cool. That's the other stuff. Yeah, my daughter, that's how she got back into gymnastics. She started looking at YouTube videos. And got back into that. And that's been great.
So
that's been great. Yeah. Oh, go ahead.
I'm just thinking that one of the things that people are seem to be concerned about now with education is critical thinking. And I'm wondering if you're seeing that at your level, how it's being taken out of the curriculum, or there's no time for teaching children how to think rather than what to think, or what your thoughts are on that.
Well, at our school, it's really great. It's like that math conference I went to. It was a Singapore math conference. I'm not sure if you're familiar with Singapore math. It's about noticing the numbers and the patterns behind it. It's not about teaching rote. Yeah, you come to a rote conclusion, but you experiment with first the concrete. Okay, what do we have here? 3 rocks, 3 Legos, whatever. And then, draw a picture representation of that, the pictorial aspect of whatever number pattern it is. And then you go on to the abstract. And that's how each grade is taught at our school. So just in math alone, that has been really helpful. The school has been doing the Singapore math program for about 7 years or so. And my daughter was there before I was there. And math isn't her thing, so sometimes it was a little fast for her, but she got help along the way. But it's so much better to get with, all of the materials and the manipulatives and getting their bodies moving. I saw a lot at the conference about that. I mean, I already do that kind of. I get like hula hoops to put them in math. Like, what is 5 times 3 if there are 15 kids there? So 5 kids, 5 groups of 3, or 3 groups of 5. What's the difference between that? They have to get in the hula hoops, that kind of thing. So that's just math. But in writing, they practice right away too. Getting main ideas, details of support evidence. So our school's on top of all that. It's just a matter of getting the kids to do that. And some take off with it. So, but it's definitely not a rote. I don't know if you know the song. I should play it on the show. Tom Chapin, "Not on the Test." A great song. It's about that,
Yeah.
Oh, don't worry, little kids. That's not on the test. Don't think. Just memorize these facts,
Right.
So, I mean, that's out there more and more of trying to hopefully get away from the testing idea. Even though we do standardized testing just to see where the kids are, but it's not the focus at all. And so that's been great. And more schools are doing that, I think, out there. I hope.
Well, there's that whole Common Core thing. How has that affected California? Has it at all?
Okay, so that is part of that, and it's how you do it, implement it. I know there's a lot, you've probably seen like on Facebook, like I was saying before, 5 times 3, 3 times 5, they're both 15.
Right.
Don't waste my time, which is true, and it will get you there but I know it's arbitrary to say 5 groups of 3 or 3 groups of 5. But in a word problem, if you can visualize that, if you can draw that, what are they asking? Are they asking for, 5 kids in 3 different groups waiting for, a ride at Disneyland, or is it 3 kids and 5, or vice versa? So they really, in that sense, it's more about the critical thinking, and it fits in with the Common Core. Although I think the Common Core, it could be a little too hardcore to get kids to be writing kind of abstractly so early on, but so they're trying to practice more and more, and I'm doing that too, working on that, trying to get them to do, prove your evidence, prove your theory with evidence or whatever it is, your statement. So it's tricky because some kids it kicks in a little later. So that's where I'm kind of, I like it because of the critical thinking aspect. but it can be a little intense at the same time for some kids. So that's kind of where I am with all that.
Mm-hmm. Are you seeing?
And, you know,
I'm sorry. Go ahead. Continue what you were
I
saying.
was good. I already forgot. So go ahead.
I'm sorry. I'm curious as to if you're seeing more medicated children in terms of ADHD and things like that.
At different places, at different times, I have. I'm not seeing it like over prescribed. I know a lot of parents are so much more aware of it, and so they're a lot resistant to that. And with some certain kids, you see how it just kicks in and it works. Mm-hmm. Where other kids, you know, there are always these other ways of dealing with it first, you know, steps before you get to that. Or like, okay, maybe they need, if it's a reading issue or something, a little pull-out program during reading or something like that.
Yeah.
So it's not, I'm not seeing out there just give them these drugs. You know, I'm not seeing that. So, but because I know that could be a problem and it's hard on the bodies of the kids. And but some kids, you just see it all of a sudden, you're like, okay, that kid is medicated.
Yeah.
It just depends. It's, you know, it seems like it's so individual because, you know, we as humans, we're so different even though we're the same.
Yeah.
You know, so it's interesting. Yeah. I keep saying that. It's interesting.
It is.
I'm reflecting on a lot as we're talking, so especially as the school year is getting going, you know.
I think California is ahead of the game in many respects. But out here, in Virginia, I still see a real push towards medication rather than trying, you know, other things first. Mm-hmm. And I also notice a huge difference between the ability of the teacher as well, or the experience of the teacher. For instance, my son, he's always been pretty well behaved, and they in elementary school they rate their you know, how well they are, basically how compliant they are, you know, in their conduct ratings, right? So he always gets outstanding in conduct, always, except for first grade and I think it was third grade. And so I was like, well, how could his conduct be outstanding all the time except for those two particular grades?
Mm-hmm. Some synergy was just not quite right or something.
Yeah.
Right?
And I think in first grade, there was 18 boys in that class and maybe like 5 girls or something. So I think it was just too much boy energy or something like that. Mm-hmm. It was like, and the teacher just couldn't get a handle on all that. And so I think that was it. And kids feed off each other. Like, so if one kid is having a weird day or is just really energetically just, ooh, you know, and all the other kids are going to feel it. And they're going to react, and they, you know, so that can get out of hand really quickly, I think.
Yes. Yeah. And that's why it's good to have a room with enough space in it to have buffers.
Yeah.
And those moments to dance and drum, brain breaks. You know, we take brain breaks at our school, and
that's good. That's really good.
Because we do like an hour of math. You know, pretty much. Sometimes a little less, sometimes a little more, and we'll have to take a break and go on to recess, whatever. But just to have, you can feel it. Being a teacher, it's so important to feel that vibe, and you can see how certain kids set certain things off, and positioning and of where they sit, and it's fascinating. It's a whole sociological phenomenon.
It is. It is. I like the idea of the brain breaks, and I saw when our son was in third grade, the teacher had showed us a video about what the whole concept of the brain break was, and I think Goldie Hawn was in it. Do you know what I'm talking about? Oh, really?
I didn't see that one, but I've seen a few, but not that one.
Yeah, and there was some sort of foundation that she was working with to get, you know, like meditation and things like that in schools. Mm-hmm. What is your thought on having children meditate?
I think it depends on what it is. Mm-hmm. You know, and if it gets, you know, into any religious imagery, you're getting tricky there, First Amendment stuff. But that's one cool thing that's sort of come out of that, even though it's like that Buddhist and maybe Hindu principle going way back of mindfulness, and how that's kind of been a thing out there without all the dogma and just breathing. We do breathing breaks, so I think that part of it is really great. And then like tensing the body and releasing, especially in those kids that are, if they're angry about something, frustrated, I think that's great. And before we do like a kind of a heavy assignment or there's a test coming up, we'll do a little stretching or breathing or even like jumping jacks. Sometimes you just have to do that. And then, okay, let's just sit and we're going to just have quiet for about 20 seconds. That's all. Let's just breathe and sit. And then we'll get back to work. That kind of thing I think is fine. But our school also has yoga once a week, which is cool. It'd be nice to have yoga for teachers every day before they teach. Some teachers, I guess, do that, or after school. But yeah, that was my daughter's favorite class was yoga. She loves that.
That's great.
Her thing. That's she loves that. So, but I'm so lucky to have that with the kids, and they come back and all right, let's get going again. So, without like I said, like not to get anything too religious, but there are little cultural things like we both have, my class and the yoga teacher, I think she has a singing bowl in there. Little things, that from cultures that you see, but nothing, religious per se.
Culture, spiritual.
Better than a forced prayer,
Right.
What
about the Pledge of Allegiance? What's the thinking in your school about that?
We do it, and and it's so interesting. That was my first Facebook argument with somebody because somebody was like, share this. If you believe the Pledge of Allegiance should be, at every school all the time. I didn't share it, but I said I agree, and our school does it. But it was because it was Facebook and it wasn't like a school related thing. I thought, but the under God part was put in there during the Red Scare and all that,
Yeah.
And I got all this name calling. I'm like, oh, this is how Facebook works. I get it. Okay. But we do it, and I love it because it's a coming together. It's like ritual without religion, but it's a ritual of everybody coming together at the bell ring. The older kids start a little earlier, so they have theirs, and then the third and below they line up for it. And I had a hard time at first, I admit. Like, I didn't want to say the under God part because it bothered me because of that whole thing. Now I say it because I get it, in my own interpretation of it, and I'm there as a teacher, and we talk about those words, and in fifth grade they get all into that. So, American government is there, main social studies there, American history.
I think it was third grade when my son asked me if he had to do it. As I know, you don't have to do it. It's your choice.
Right. Nobody's, really said that or defied that in any way. I haven't seen that.
And he's like, he really wanted to know whether I would support him if he didn't do it. And I said, it's your choice. So, but he still did it because I don't think he wanted to, be different or nonconformist. He's definitely not as nonconformist as me. That's what I was voted class nonconformist in.
Oh, really?
Senior year, yeah.
Well, that's why you're doing this and interviewing all these different people, and it's great.
Yeah, I love it, and I never knew I wanted to do radio or that I would do radio. It just kind of happened.
Really?
Yeah, just like you. I mean, it just kind of happened.
Yeah.
You just find yourself doing it.
It's so funny.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of my old poetry books, I have in there somewhere, I want to be a DJ someday.
Wow.
And there was this great DJ. He's still on, but he's on Sirius FM. Do you know Jim Ladd? Do you know who he is?
No.
He would play these thematic shows in the 70s at KMET in LA. And turns out Jeff in the Morning lived here in California part of the time, and he has a K-Meat T-shirt just like I do. Anyway, he was inspired by Jim Ladd as well. But that's also how it's kind of like, Northern Exposure, how there's so many themes going on with those different episodes and in writing. Jim Ladd would do that too, and then he would have these headsets and he'd play like psychedelic stuff and mash up different songs, but he also kind of had a little political bent to him. But then the radio got more and more commercial, as you know.
Yep.
So now he's on Sirius, and I don't have Sirius. My wife does in her car, but just people like that, that were just doing that back then, very inspiring. And then here we are.
Yeah. And so for those, who don't want to do commercial radio or who want to do their own thing too, we have internet radio, which has completely exploded in the last 10 years. It's like everybody has a radio show. And because it's so easy to do now.
Right. Yeah.
It's amazingly simple to do. I was just thinking that Mijikia also used to do radio in LA. I can't remember what he did though, but it might have been
really?
KET. It might have been that same time frame as well. Yeah, I remember him talking about doing radio. He's done everything, absolutely everything could possibly.
And then through internet radio, you meet people like you guys. It's so fascinating. And having like the little chat room and the Tranquility Base.
What's great about Tranquility Base is that nobody's arguing about anything in there. Whereas you go into other chat rooms and it's good to debate too. I mean, I like to debate every once in a while.
Sure.
And it's good to talk about issues and stuff, but sometimes you just need a break from it where, you're just, it's like, going to a virtual pub or something like that where everybody's just like, hey,
Exactly. Yeah. I think, like, I remember somebody was saying a couple weeks ago, it's like the virtual Cheers bar.
Yeah. That's what it is.
Yeah, so that's been great. Yeah, the only two chat rooms I've ever been in is the one on your station right here when, I think it was when Wolf was being interviewed. I heard most.
Hopefully nobody was.
And then the Tranquility Base. I've never been in it. So it's just been a whole learning experience for me doing all this. And like you said, how it's just so easy to be able to access all this. Although it was a pain to get my Mac up to get the broadcast happening, but I finally figured it out. It was good for my brain. So.
Oh yeah. But once you figure it out, you're good to go.
Yeah, and it's just to have all these tunes, and anybody can put together a playlist now and copy things. But I just love how there's thought, put into it, even when it's random. Like today I was joking because with a random pattern of songs, I was just dragging them in kind of randomly on the scrolling, but then. You want to make sense of it, so you put them all around and be able to shuffle.
We're going to take a quick break. We're already through the first hour, so we'll be back in a few minutes.
All righty.
Okay. Welcome back to The Bridge with Kira. I'm your host, Kira Young, and we are in the second hour now talking to Smokie Bernstein. Welcome back.
Thank you, Kira. All right.
Are you surprised at how fast that first hour just flew right by?
23 minutes and 20 seconds it felt like, something like that. I don't know.
Yeah. Something like that, yeah. It's just laid back and we're not quite throwing ourselves on the gears of the machine today, but maybe next week we'll do that.
That's all right. Yeah.
Our revolution today is just going to be mellow and easy and down to earth.
Sounds good. Well, you're wonderful to talk with.
As are you. And you strike me as somebody who's really very community oriented and very family and children oriented. And
I'm working on it.
But I like that.
Yeah. Thanks.
And you're making me miss California very much.
Oh, well, maybe you guys have to come out.
Yeah, I think we need to. I really do.
Just not in the valley. It's too hot right now. Spring in the fall, beautiful.
Yes.
But in winter. But whew. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I mean, that's, it's a good point. That was one thing, like you're saying about community and, here's how we found our house. It's so interesting because we went to that Unitarian church, just for the first time to check it out. My wife is 8 months pregnant. Oh, she was brought up Catholic, but, the dogma was a little much. And, what is our kid going to grow up with, right? With different aspects of, religion and what our daughter just loves it there. So anyway, so she's 8 months pregnant. We pull up. This is at the height of the housing boom here. I don't know if it was like that out there, but in like 2004, it was insane. And we pulled, and then we're like, hey, there's a for sale sign around down the street a little bit by where we parked. Well, that's how we found our house. And so we have our little community here in our West Valley. And that night we moved in, put down the last box. Once we, went through all the escrow and all that. And then my wife went into labor. We didn't even spend the night in our first night in our house.
Wow.
In our condo. And, but we've become a part of this community here. So those are like, it's been great. And then, the LA River, it's kind of a joke because it's concrete, if you've seen it, right? But parts of it are trying to be reestablished. And there was a lot of flooding in the, back in the 30s in this area. And so they put a concrete channel in there. Anyway, but they opened up a bike path last year, and they're trying to get it, more, community place where people tag and do all kinds of awful things, So I take that bike path to work when I can ride to work, and it's been a nice little connection of home to work in that kind of old school way, So that's been kind of nice with all the negativity, out there on the streets.
Yeah.
It's a little sanctuary. Doesn't smell that great in the summer, but it's getting better. They, LA or whoever has hired Frank Gehry to help design some of how I think like the 6th Street Bridge or something downtown. You have to look it up, but they're redesigning a lot of it to kind of make it a little more natural. They put in a lot of native plants along it. So now I take a walking field trip from my classroom toward the end of the year, and we walk down to the bike path. And I have the kids write haiku, and there are birds in there. And yeah, they might see a homeless person or something, and we make sure it's all cleared out and no one's near them, but it's safe. And the kids love it. And now they want to go, on their little path. So, a little community building wherever you can, right?
Yeah. It seems like every time we turn around, there's another sort of barrier to it. So to see communities trying to strengthen it rather than the opposite. I mean, we have this great technology, but that's also, it's at the same time that it's connecting us, it's also separating us as well.
Exactly.
So it's a really hard balance to achieve. And I know, like, we're all addicted to our phones, and so I have to tell myself, like, put the phone down. Put it down so that I can be with who I am with,
Right.
And, it's hard. It's hard.
Yeah. No, I'm there too. I mean, I've had a phone now for a little less than a year. I was trying to avoid it, but having a daughter in middle school and all that, in life. So now I have one, but I love it for that. But yeah. And then, wait, I'll be right down in a minute. I'm almost over my playlist, that kind of thing. Oh, okay. Time to put down the mouse.
Yep.
Yeah. So I know it's been great that way for, be able to connect, but it's that worldwide and our home, it's tricky. Yeah.
So speaking of worldwide, I think we should say hi to our worldwide tribe of weirdos that we hang out with on K-Bear in the chat.
Hello, weirdos Sicilians. Thank you for being there. I'm not as nervous now, I think. That were too. That's so cool they're in there. Yeah. That's great.
Thanks for listening. Everybody who's listening, thanks for listening. And definitely, if you haven't checked out K-Bear yet, please do. It's a nice. There's really nothing out there like it.
Yeah, yeah.
There really isn't. So
I love. Yeah, good.
I'm just glad that my husband found it. So.
Yeah. So was he a friend of Wolf's, like on Facebook, or how did you guys all connect with? Because I think I ended up in some, Facebook fan page of Northern Exposure. I think Club NX, and that's how I got connected.
Yeah, that's how he got connected too. Yeah. Mm. Just trying to look up Northern Exposure stuff.
Right.
And found it, and then I think he got a friend request, and it was just like, that was it. It just went from there. But yeah, there's people, and then there's people who are really into Northern Exposure. and unless you're one of those people that's like a hardcore fan, you don't understand the obsession.
I know. I try to balance the playlist and talk with Northern Exposure stuff and then non-Northern Exposure.
Yeah.
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 I know, it's funny.
And it's like a comforting thing to play the episodes.
Yes.
It's hard to describe unless you're really into it, but it's every once in a while it's time to have a Northern Exposure marathon and just keep, even if they're on in the background, because you've already seen them 300 times, so you can see in your head what's going on, and all you have to do is hear it to see in your head what's going on.
Oh, yeah. I drive my wife and daughter crazy sometimes when we're watching, because I know all the dialogue. They're like, stop it, stop. But yeah, you're right. It is like a comfort, like people sometimes use to, just have the TV on for something there, but it's this good vibe thing that's coming through that,
yeah,
that's true.
Yeah. I told Jeff when he moved into his new place, and he was unpacking, he's like, I think I'm going to have a Northern Exposure, just play a bunch of episodes while I'm unpacking. And I was like, yeah, it's kind of like burning sweetgrass after you've burned the sage. It just fills the house up with goodness. Playing those old episodes. So yeah, that's how weird we are, people. We're weird.
Visual, audio, sweetgrass. Yeah, that's true though. Yeah. When I was a music teacher, I used to use those songs all the time in the soundtracks, and even like it was an adult function, like an open house or whatever. I always had that music in there, and people just, whoever the music supervisors were, God, they were brilliant. Whoever they were, I thought looked them up, because just everything is so perfect. And the song "Everybody Be Yourself." I forget what episode that's. Oh, Spring Break. It's in Spring Break by Chick Street Man. He actually was a traveling musician who also went to schools. And years ago at my previous school, somehow he got connected, I think through downtown or something. He came to our school, so I got to meet him, and it was really fun. I used that song in a little play that the first graders did with animals about being yourself. Everybody was a different animal, and they were all I think they were arguing about, who's better or whatever. And so I used his song, and I got to tell him, and so he performed it, and it was a lot of fun. And it's great stuff.
What's the actor's name who played the Flying Man? Do you remember what his name is?
Oh, yes, Bill Irwin.
Bill Irwin.
Yeah.
He did a lot of children's television.
Yeah, I had no idea till years later. Because, growing up in Sesame Street, my daughter loved Mr. Nudo. She couldn't quite say it yet. You're so little. Nudo. She's probably going to kill me. Well, she won't listen to this. And then DJ Wolf, I think it was on Sunday, before he played one of the Northern Exposure episodes, there was a little TMC clip of Bill Irwin talking about Harold Lloyd and how he got a lot of physical comedy from him way back in Charlie Chaplin days and all that. Fascinating. But I love that whole idea of the Flying Man. And
oh, me too. And his relationship with Marilyn and just everything about it. It's
Yeah.
just awesome.
Everything.
Yeah.
Well, you're kind of hoping they're for each other in a way because they're both quiet.
Yeah.
But they speak so much.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
Well,
just how she totally got him, you know,
mm-hmm.
and how he knew that she totally got him without any verbal exchange.
Yeah, she would finish what he was saying even though he wasn't saying it with words.
Mm-hmm.
Or answer it. You're like, what? How'd she get that from that? It's great.
Yeah.
That's another thing. The episode on, season 6, when Marilyn goes to see the almost all enlightened Joel, and then he messes with his ego. He's all messed up, and that was so powerful for me because being in college at the time, I was kind of self-righteous, and I was kind of going through the same stuff, as Joel, and that was just like the Zen master whacking you on the back. Oh yeah. Oh, there's so much there.
Oh yeah.
That's another thing too. It's like, people can watch reruns of shows, but wow, what a lesson, huh?
Yeah. I catch stuff even now, even though I've seen it, because I'm older too, so there's more in there for me where I am now.
Yeah.
Yeah, so that's
and more recent. Sorry?
Yeah. I don't know if you can even plan that, really.
Right.
I mean, that's just grace.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know how some kind of, just the connection with all those writers and whatever they did and how it's so humanistic and just situations and, and you're right, because in my 20s watching this, Maurice kind of represented that establishment. I'm like, oh yeah, you're the old and you're the old. And even though they showed his character kind of having these vulnerable spots through the years, to me, that was like, so not, that's my parents, sure. But now being older, you just, I see it all. I see in all the different characters. Oh,
yeah.
There's so much more heart there. At different ages, what you see. Oh, it's amazing.
It's archetypal. I think each character had
Yes.
a really strong archetype that was working.
Yeah, that makes
that
sense.
character.
That's what it. Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. And then did I know you've done poetry when you were younger. Do you still write poetry?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Oh, you do? Okay. Yeah. I was just thinking how because Chris Stevens being the artist guy, did he influence you with your radio ideas or with your art or your poetry?
I would have to say no, because I think for me, my poetry comes from a different place.
Okay.
Because he's male and I'm female. I think it's really that simple.
Sure. Yeah.
So, sure. There was no character in that show that really expresses my my poetic leanings, I guess.
Not even Ruth Ann's, what's that like? The heart's too narrow for the little gray sparrow. Not quite.
Nope.
Yeah, I guess you don't really, you think about it, like the female characters, there's not as, much of that. Yeah, it's different.
They're more the muse, or, the, I don't know, like with Maggie, she's that stubborn, she wants to be self-possessed, and she is in many ways, but at the same time, she really, really isn't.
Right, with her little sweater and daddy's clothes. And,
yeah.
Right. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So, and that's a Shelley. Yeah, because it's different. Yeah.
Yeah, but I can still appreciate it anyway.
Right.
Because I'm used to not fitting in anywhere, so I think it would feel weird if I if I did see myself, it would really scare me because I'm not,
Mm-hmm.
like an artistic
Right.
leaning.
Yeah.
Be like, whoa.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. And that's the thing with the radio. Why I would never see myself, because they're really. I mean, when we were younger, can you name any female who was doing radio?
Right. Yeah, there were a few, but
Yep.
on rock and roll stations. But yeah.
And,
Dusty Street, Cynthia Fox. But
Yep.
yeah, they were the LA ones I knew of. Yeah, It's pretty much, again, like another male-dominated, situation. And that's what was interesting about that episode, too, when Maggie finds the artifacts in her yard.
Yes.
And that whole thing, and then the Pretender song.
That was
Him
perfect.
to Her. Yes. Oh, that just... pregnant new baby. But that stuff, it's that's a different episode. I think there's the other one with the Marina McKenna song too. The very mystical, matriarchal kind of tune, whatever it is. But both of those have that feminine aspect. So and then there's that other side of that where there's she's the teacher, but she's Rosalind, but she's also Colleen's teacher when he goes back to school, and she and Maggie get into this whole feminist thing, and it was like a little twist on feminism there. It was really weird.
Yeah. And I was talking to Majiki about it, but if I would have to relate to any female character, I would relate to Cicely more than any other female character.
She's like the goddess.
Yep. Yep.
Yeah.
And
yeah.
when that scene where the one where they go back in time and that old guy is telling the story of what it was like when Cicely and Rosalind lived in Sicily and came to Sicily. I think that's the only episode where you really get to meet Cicely. Yeah.
Right. Yeah.
It's the only one that I remember where you really meet her, and she's performing in like the saloon.
Oh, that's magical.
Yeah. But you remember how it took the audience.
Oh yeah.
It took them a while to get it.
Right. At first, it was just like, "Who's this hot mama?"
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Right. That old Wild West, and then they're like, "Oh, this is something." Yeah. That was And I think that one won like Emmy. Well, they won a lot of awards. Not that awards matter that much, but I know that one was a biggie. It's deserved. It's one of those scenes it's like it's not entertainment, it's art. A lot of the show is like that, but really it's like, it takes you, it transcends TV.
It was a pearls before swine moment, but yet the swine came around. And that was the magic of Sicily and her.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then she sacrifices.
Yes.
Yeah.
I was named after a character in an Anne Rand novel, We the Living. My father's really into Anne Rand when I was born, and but when I was younger, I learned about the other meanings of my name. And one of them is Kira is an Inuit fish goddess, savior of her people, and it's the same type of situation. When I was young, I went to go see a play called Kira and the Lake Legend, and it was the only other time that I met other Kiras in my childhood. Later on, other people started being named Kira, but for the first part, since I was born in 1969, for the first part of my life, I never really met another Kira until maybe college, except for that one experience when I was a child and went to that play. But I just find that interesting too, because it's a Russian name, and then the whole Russian-Alaskan connection.
Oh yeah,
and then the Inuit, that Inuit name is a Russian name too. you know.
Yeah, there are all those cultures merging up there. Yeah. Huh. That's interesting. Yeah, I've seen the name because we have an Irish friend, but she spells it differently. It's like more the Gaelic version of that, I guess, or something.
Yeah, Ciara with a fodder
That's
over the
correct.
I. Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's there too,
Yeah.
and there's you find it in Eastern Europe, uh,
Mm-hmm.
but for Russia in particular, you also find it as it was a last name for royalty. So that's
Oh. Huh.
yeah, and if you directly like translate it, it can also mean cup or queen or throne as well. So it's pretty directly related to the goddess, I think.
Wow. That's neat. What a neat
Yeah.
story. Huh. Yeah, I don't know why my parents picked my name. It's a good question. When I think about it, I'll ask my brother and sister. They passed, but which is always interesting too. Like I know on Jeff's interview with you, he talked about who he was and ethnicity and all that. And me coming from a divorced family, it was kind of a weird thing, and I didn't really know my dad's side of the family, but they came from Russia. And my mom's side, I got to learn a little more about through a second uncle or something like that. But through they came from Latvia, Lithuania. They escaped the Cossacks, and they were living in caves as teenagers and came over on a cargo ship across, the pond to Nova Scotia, and that's where my parents were born. Yeah, interesting connection there.
Yevgeny Fleischman.
Yeah, that whole thing. Oh my! And I wasn't brought up with Jewish religion, just culturally, somewhat.
Right.
But I eat bacon. I was a vegetarian for 8 years, but that's another story. Yeah, I love the smell of bacon. Anyway, yeah. No, I was joking with my wife the other day because I have this liquid smoke, which I love the smell of. I said, I'm going to make a cologne out of that because I like it. Mm-hmm. But anyway, Jewish people are going, but yeah, I wasn't brought up with it, but I did find out that my grandmother was a translator on Ellis Island, so that was interesting. She knew, like in those Eastern European countries, they're all close together and they know different languages. She knew like Yiddish and Russian and I guess potentially English. Wow. Yeah, that's as far as I've really gotten. Although an interesting idea an interesting thing happened to me. It was I was reading. This was probably 10 years ago. Being a musician and reading a guitar magazine, the bookstore, and the musician Ben Harper.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. So he grew up in Claremont, and my great aunt lived out there, and I thought, oh, that's interesting. And he was talking about how he grew up in this folk music center, and I'm like, really? That was my great aunt's daughter started that store, and so we're like third cousins or something. But so that was interesting. I went back there and said hi to his mom. His mom still works there, and I had some poetry. It's funny because my great aunt and my great uncle were a huge influence on me, but I couldn't articulate it. I was like 6 or 7 when I first met them. But I loved the way he would like talk about nature. He was looking at like the ivy. He's like, look, there's a whole world in that ivy that we're walking by. Mm-hmm. And so that was different from the vibes from my parents. They were more practical. And then I found out, my great aunt was a Unitarian, so that's the weird connection there. Mm. And so, but I always loved that store. It's a great store. Really.
So your uncle was like the mystic in your life.
Yeah.
In your upbringing. He got you to
Even though I only saw him a few times. Yeah. And then I did see my great aunt again in my 20s, and I used to make little poetry books too, and I made this one, which was all about, I called them gyroisms because I was a skater. I was a skate punk rocker too for a little bit.
Cool.
A gyro skateboard wheels. So anyway, I used to make up all these things that would happen that were like kind of like Murphy's Law before Murphy's Law, and also ironies, but I didn't really get irony. And so I gave her that booklet, even though I hadn't seen her in like 20 years or so. And my great aunt was like cracking up, and she totally got it. And I just love that, I had that little connection. So it's interesting how sometimes people get things like Bill Irwin or his character, whatever he is, the Flying Man in Maryland, without even necessarily speaking about those things, they just get them.
Yep. I love those connections. I did want to say that Mijuki didn't leave the chat room because he wanted to. We lost the net at the house because we've been having storms out here. So he'll be back as soon as he can. Stick around, everybody, and enjoy the show. We got another half hour to go, and I'm really enjoying my conversation with you. I think that we could really have a good time in 2018. We'll have to teach our dogs how to travel.
Yeah, and it's funny how, it's like I'm just meeting you now, even though I met you, in the chat room, whatever. But it's like I'm so comfortable talking with you. It's like the whole Northern Exposure thing. All these people, and they're just comfortable to talk with. And what another interesting thing I was thinking about when we were talking about the feminist thing and the male-female. Some of the people in the chat room, because I haven't been in it that long, I don't know if they're male or female because they might have a gender-neutral handle, or name or whatever. So that's kind of, I was just thinking about that sociologically.
Yeah.
Like how people react in the chat room not knowing, because if they're not on cam and you don't know them, it's kind of interesting.
Yeah. I've thought about that too.
Yeah.
And the whole thing, like in social media where, people create sock puppet accounts and, like a whole personality, like for various reasons. Some people do it for manipulation. Some people do it just to see what it's like to be, like a man if you're a woman or a woman if you're a man, just to see like the difference between if you express your opinion about this or that, how people react to you or whatever, like a sociological experiment. So I have a friend who's doing that right now. He created a female account just to see how women are actually treated, because he had a lot of sort of anti-feminist leanings, and he thought it would be a good idea to actually see what it was like to be out there as a female and stuff. And so now he's got like a more balanced perspective about it, and he can see how that yes, maybe third wave feminism has taken things a little bit too far, but the whole men don't need women movement or whatever that's called now, that's ridiculous too. So but I don't know where I was going with it. But yeah, I've noticed that too. Like I don't always know, if the person in the chat is male or female. I guess it really doesn't matter, but
right, it's just people.
Yeah.
It's just a thought I had falling asleep. Those things you think of.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. And I've had friends, for a long time I avoided actually accepting friend requests from people I didn't know in real life. And then I was like, why don't I just open things up, and it can get weird, but it's probably worth it, I think, in the long run, just to open things up.
Like, people like that I know now through Northern Exposure, even though I don't know them, I'm like, oh, okay, that's that person I recognize, or
Yeah, and everybody thinks that Chris, at first, is a male Chris in the KBR.
Oh, yeah, I didn't even think of that because I knew who she was before. Okay, yeah. Oh, interesting. we call the I don't know the name of the episode. Or maybe it's duets. I don't know. But you know what I'm talking about, where I'm going? Chris goes to the monastery.
I love that episode.
Well, that's a great twist, on that. Yeah. Chris, the whole thing.
He really tortures himself about, having these feelings for this person he thinks is a guy, and he's just like, I don't understand it. He's like, I've always been straight, but he's so brutally honest with himself that it's kind of beautiful to see. So when he's finally when he finally finds out that it's a female, he's like, oh wow, okay, so I really am who I think I was, or
right. Yeah. And like, who thought of that? And that's, back then, it's pretty good.
Yep, they were the first to
Okay.
have some more in-depth gay characters as well.
Right.
You really didn't
I remember
see that.
seeing that. Yeah, I remember when Ron and Eric were dancing, I think to At Last or something. It didn't bother me. I mean, I still have this cringe of males kissing or something. It still was weird, but I remember that in my 20s, seeing them dance. Like, what's the big deal? It's love, whatever, you know. But yeah, they were pretty up on that. And then, yeah, the only other show I'm kind of I guess there are a few shows I think that kind of sort of set the stage for being open-minded about, not so much that, like gender issues, but like Rachel, like Star Trek, even though they were kind of tokens, but they were, that whole, everybody kind of, it's international. And that was back in the 60s, it's just kind of interesting. But George Takei's career, just on Facebook, I mean, what he's done, or whoever works with him on that, it's so funny. Right.
Yeah, it's such a weird thing. Like people like him so much, and you wouldn't know how fond people are of him, unless that whole social media thing was created. Like you wouldn't realize that, and then you're like, oh wow, it's like everyone likes George Takei. Like everybody likes him. There's nobody that doesn't like him, It's like,
yeah.
what's not to like,
Exactly.
Guy's cool.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But, yeah. That's come a long ways, though. But there's still some, nutty people out there or they're just ignorant. They just don't know, and they're pretty close-minded. But yeah, I feel like at least the kids, at least where I am, they're like, why wouldn't you? They're so, third grade. So, but even with some of the older kids, I don't really see that. I think in middle school that kind of changes, though.
Yeah, there's a lot of sort of, insecurities, I think, that and fears and that play into that whole thing. And for me, I was in high school in the 80s, and I never had an issue with it, and I've always been the kind of person that's never ever judged people. Like I give people a chance, and I consequently had a lot of gay friends in high school, and I've kind of got a reputation for being, like the chick who has a lot of gay friends,
Right. Yeah.
Because of it, but it was just because people knew that, I was accepting and loving, and that's what people need. So, you're automatically attracted to what you need.
Right.
So that's been a big issue in my upbringing, is that I've always been, really adamant about accepting people and not judging people for who they are.
Right.
The only thing we should really, have those types of judgments for what people do that are harmful to other people. So not what people are. You are what you are.
Exactly.
Yeah. So I'm encouraged by how children are more accepting, and I'm encouraged by how my son's own acceptance, and it really doesn't mess with their own burgeoning sexuality to teach them to be accepting. I think, in fact, it's quite the opposite, because when people, I've found in my life, when people have issues, it's really their own issues. So it's because of their own issues and fears that they have. I mean, it's otherwise, who cares,
Right.
So
yeah.
But there's also a big, I think there's some segments of our society that are quite concerned and worried, and especially when it comes to transgender issues, and in thinking that, well, we might want to just let Kit, not really decide the transgender issue, so early.
Right.
And I would agree with that, because we all go through developmental stages and things like that, so.
Yeah. And it may, slightly fluctuate. I mean, who knows, people. I was in a conversation pretty recently where I heard they as a singular, referring to somebody who is kind of in that right now.
Yeah.
And I thought, wait, that wasn't a grammatical error. Oh, that's a thing. And so it's interesting.
Yeah.
So not a he-she situation necessarily. Yeah.
That's very new, and very, very new, because when I would hear that, when I was growing up, that was just code. So if like a male, in fact, I have an old friend, my old friend Dr. Fred, who's my chiropractor in Oakland, California, was referring to his partner as they. And so that was the moment that I knew that he was gay, because, and I said to him, they, and he's like, okay, he, and it was like from that moment, he knew, like, you don't have to hide that from me, just because I'm your patient or whatever. But now it's taken on a whole nother meaning. That's interesting. I haven't run into that yet.
Yeah, that was my first time. Then I saw an article about it, like, the next day. It was one of those serendipitous moments.
Synchronicity, right?
Yeah. We just, speaking of, kind of, it comes in waves with me. I don't know about you, like serendipity.
Oh, yeah.
Serendipitous moments, yeah. So I was, we were in Vegas, and of course on Las Vegas Boulevard, there's this restaurant, Serendipity 3, so it's right there. No big deal. Okay, that happens. When we got home, and in our mailboxes, the movie Serendipity was the top of the queue in our Netflix. So we watched it last night. And then I forgot John Corbett's in it, so he's in it.
Oh, wow.
He plays like this new agey world fusion guy. It's just funny. But, that would often happen too. When I watched Northern Exposure the first time, there were a lot of those, like it was that connection kind of thing. Like when you meet somebody, like I'm sure you've had, certain moments with, Zeke, you go, oh, wow, that's it, little cute.
Absolutely. Yeah, and I love it. And the more you look at it, the more you look at the synchronicities in your life, the more will come for you to look at. So it's almost like a way that the universe reminds you how you're part of the universe.
Exactly. Yeah, I'm trying to be more, like, I'm thinking about that. It's like just being open more. Yeah, exactly. And not to get caught up in it. Does that mean, like, in the movie is so funny, there's one scene, it's like, does this mean I shouldn't do what I'm supposed to do? Because I should,
Right.
You just kind of feel it your way through, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah.
But it was strange, too, that, and then the night in between there was a night in there, I had a dream that a bird was falling from the sky, and I was lying down on the sidewalk, and I caught it with my hand and saved it. One of my friends had a Cooper's hawk crash into a window, and they were trying to get it to a wildlife center, but the fire was going on. It's just really weird. So I wrote them, I said, well, in my dream it lives, so hopefully the hawk is okay. It was okay. But, I love how the show also played with dreams a lot,
That's good. So, I'm really into dreams as well, and I...
Oh, are you?
Yeah, and I really like how valuable it is to look at all the characters in your dream as an aspect of yourself.
Right.
I think you can get a lot out of that, looking at it like that. And when people tell me their dreams, I have this sort of automatic, like, Ooh, I know what that means, kind of thing.
Mm-hmm.
And it's not like I look it up in a book. It's like, well, when you dream about
Sure.
teeth, it's just when
Right.
someone
It's more
tells it to me,
intuitive.
I'm like, wow, that's deep. This is what I got out of it. And they're like, holy crap. Like, and so
Mm-hmm.
now people tell me their dreams because they're like, I love it when you tell me what my dream meant to you, it. So, yeah. So I'm
All
into
right.
really into that.
So I'm gonna. So hopefully that bird is something good.
Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, it's been interesting through the years of that, and I love how the show has that like realism, but with the magical aspect of it too.
Yeah. Chris and his brother when they
Oh
switched
yeah.
dreams.
Yes.
I love that.
And the music,
Uh-huh.
where I just thought that was so unique, with the half animals and the toy cows in Africa.
Yep.
That song, great. Great stuff. Yeah.
I love
I'm
that
looking
show.
forward to watching. Yeah. Oh. So my wife and I, we're taking turns each night. So we both watch an episode of Gilmore Girls one night, and then the next night we watch Northern Exposure, and we keep going back and forth.
Okay.
That's what we've been doing, because now that I have the new German box set with the original music, I'm so happy,
Yeah.
And some of the Northern Exposure people know that I'm one of those obsessive people. Certain episodes, like when Maurice is on the rooftop with the pipes, after going through and finding those, and the Chieftains are playing.
Mm-hmm.
That's replaced on the DVD, and I just can't listen to, even though the music's just okay, because the Coolin Medley is one of my favorite Celtic songs. We had it, the introduction of our wedding. And we also had a Taos song in our wedding too, from this cassette. I got it not very far in the 80s. Yeah. And it transferred it to CD, so we could have it. Oh no, we had cassette. We used cassettes for our wedding. That's right. I did a playlist on a cassette. How's that for time warp, right? Sure, you had plenty of mixtapes, huh?
I sure did. Lots of, Dead Kennedys and Surfers and yeah. Oh yeah. Black Flag and yeah, good stuff.
Yeah. Cool.
Fugazi.
Oh. Yeah.
Did you ever get into Fugazi? I really liked him.
No, only a little bit. No, I am a little older than you, but I was in the Black Flag for a bit. Yeah.
And Henry Rollins.
Yes, and we saw him live. Have you seen him do spoken word?
Yes.
Great. But yeah, I was really into X, Black Flag, Sex Pistols, Ramones, and then earlier New Wave. Yeah, so I played a few of those songs. I did play X on my first show. Might have to bring a little more. Can't get too raw on Saturday morning, but
I still love the Dead Kennedys.
I only knew a few songs of theirs. Yeah.
I think that Jello Biafra was a pretty brilliant person. Because if you really look at the lyrics, it's like he was seeing through the veil, man. He was...
Yeah. Early on.
And it's so poignant even today. I mean, it really is.
Well, yeah, it's connected today with the whole,
everything, yeah.
Everything, right. Yeah, I saw him, I think, at Humboldt. I went to Humboldt State for 3 years. And I think I saw him there speak. This was around the Persian Gulf War, right around the first one, right around then. Yeah, it was intense.
That's like when you hear John Trudell's Bombs Over Baghdad, Dancers Death. He's singing that song, or he's actually doing spoken word, but other people are singing.
Right.
That's done during the first Gulf War as well. So drinking blood and oil cocktails. Yeah.
Right. Yeah, there it is.
That stuff. Yeah, I mean that's really punk rock right there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, he's like this. Yeah, even though it's a spoken word, it's like a Lou Reed punkish thing, but with this native stuff in the background. And I have to listen to more of his stuff. I know Jeff's been playing some of his. Yeah. I only a few of his songs on cassette, and oh wow, there's a whole world there for he played something mellow by him. I thought, that's John Trudell? Oh, whoa.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And there's a lot of bluesy guitars too, which
Mm-hmm.
I really like. And the older I get, the more I like blues and swamp, and
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah. Me too. I learned how to, I think back when, I learned I'm playing bass, learning the blues scales and all that, and playing, I taught myself guitar, but I never felt, it's a cliche, but once that girl broke up with me, then I could feel it. And then I was like, oh, I get it now. Even in high school, I'm like, yeah, I can play the blues, but I can also play all these fast notes, prog rock, man. Woo. But then now it's like, it's not all about that, yeah. It's like space between the notes and all that stuff. Yeah.
I was saying when to a friend of mine, we were getting to know each other, my friend Chuck, and I was telling him, I sing powwow, but I fancy myself singing blues someday. And he said, don't we all? Don't we all? It's true, isn't it?
Yeah. Did you ever see the movie Crossroads with Ralph Macchio?
No.
I know Wolf has, because we've commented back and forth in the chat room about it. But it is a hilarious take of, the white boy playing the blues kind of thing, thrown in with the old, myth of, Robert Johnson selling his soul and Willie Brown, all that stuff.
Mm-hmm.
And it came out in the mid '80s, and Steve Vai is in it. It was hilarious, and there's just so many little sayings. I think you would love it. But it's that whole, the white boy from Juilliard. Well, he was a classically trained guitarist, which helps him, but he's trying to learn the blues. And there's like one scene where he has this, I can't remember the actor's name or past it. He was in, anyway, African-American guy. He was in Silverado too. I can't think of his name. Anyway, he's this old blues guy who gets out of this nursing home, and he wants to go back home in the South and make his deal with the devil and all. And so Ralph Macchio was at this, he has this old beat-up guitar. He's like, yeah, you probably bought that thing just because it looks beat up. You think you're a blues man. It's about Muddy Waters invented electricity, and he pulls out this, Telecaster or something. So there's all these little lines in there that are just hilarious, like people trying to play the blues, and feeling the blues.
Yeah.
And then there's a scene where the Ralph Macchio character does feel the blues, but it's, of course, Ry Cooder really playing,
Right.
And it's just a beautiful slide piece. I think I played it a few weeks ago, but anyway, no sidetrack in that movie, but it's fun to watch.
That whole Crossroads, Robert Johnson, that's been in so many songs and movies.
Yeah.
That whole idea, I mean, talk about archetypal, that whole choice that every artist is given.
Especially the artist, right? I know. It's a tortured soul. Yeah. Oh my gosh.
Yeah. Besides J.J. Grey, I also listen to Nick Cave and the Bad Seeds, and I've been a Nick Cave fan for 30 years. In fact, Nick Cave was my first pen pal. He was the first person I sent my poems to, and he actually wrote me back. I was like,
it's like Ed and Steven Spielberg, right?
Exactly. Yeah. But you reminded me of his song, the Higgs Boson Blues, where he refers to that. So maybe you could play that on your next show. Play Higgs Boson Blues. That's a deep
I'm sorry,
song.
I didn't hear it. It's a blues song. What's it called again?
Higgs Boson, as in the collider, in the Higgs boson, the where they split the atom, that's
the superconductor thing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's called
the Higgs, I don't know it. Okay.
Higgs Boson Blues. So we'll have to play that on your next show.
Okay,
you guys
I'm
look
gonna check that out.
It's a pretty a deep song, but he refers to Robert Johnson in it with his $10 guitar or something.
Perfect. Oh, cool. Did you ever see Wings of Desire?
Oh, absolutely, yeah.
Yeah, okay, because you're in the Cave. Yeah,
absolutely.
so that was my first discovery of him, and I love that movie.
I do too.
It just, that's another one that says so much without words, you know? Wow. Yeah.
Wim Wenders, I think, is the director's name. Is
right.
German director, and the whole Columbo.
Oh my!
I love.
He reminded me of my dad, so I always have a soft spot for that. Seeing if he's in there. Yeah, is that like totally random? I wonder how that came about.
Yeah, I think it has to do with Columbo being so popular in Germany.
I guess, yeah.
You know, and maybe like Northern Exposure, maybe it was simulcast over in Germany, just like Northern Exposure.
Oh yeah,
that's how it got to be so popular and part of German culture as well. This American television show.
Right. Yeah. It's good. Yeah. Yeah. I think I have to re-see it again now that I'm thinking about it. It's been a while. I like to watch that every 4 or 5 years. Yeah.
Columbo or Wings of Desire?
Oh, Wings of Desire.
Yeah.
Although Columbo I did watch growing up, back when TV was not so niche oriented, so everyone kind of got around the TV, so different.
Yeah.
But, yeah. Columbo and McCloud, all kind of around the same time, those investigator ones. And Dan Tanner.
Quincy.
Maybe.
Remember Quincy?
Quincy's the other one. Thank you. Yeah.
Of that era.
Yeah.
I used to love that show. I don't know why. I can still see him sitting on top of his Winnebago or whatever in the parking lot, drinking whatever.
And I love the Rockford Files, and I love the theme. If you watch that.
Yeah,
James
definitely.
Yeah.
He was too cool.
Yeah.
For his day.
What's that?
For his day, he was cool, man. He was.
Yeah.
He was it.
Yeah.
And as people who listen to my show know, I do. Since we live out in the woods, we don't have really good internet out there. It's just satellite, and the ping rate is too crappy to even broadcast. So I come into town, and I hook up to my hotspot, and I do the show, and I'm in my truck now, and it's starting to rain, and so.
Oh, I hear it. Yeah.
Yeah. So, just in case we get cut off during the last few minutes of the show, you'll know it was a rain-oriented event.
Okay.
Because
funny.
Majiki is back in the chat, but he lost internet as well. So where can people find you?
So, well, there's obviously the Smokie Bernstein page, but I have some of my, I sent you a couple of videos. I have some stuff up on YouTube, but there's another Paul Bernstein. I think he's like a doctor in New York, or there's probably 10 of them in New York. I don't know. But where I've done some projects. And I have a Reverb Nation page, too. Songs from the Heart, or Songs of the Heart. I got to look at it. Songs from the Heart. But yeah, any of those. K-Bear.
Okay. Thanks so much for joining me tonight.
Well, it's been an honor. Thank you. And I just have to say one thing really quick. Okay. I love the flowers every day.
Awesome.
Yeah, it's a little reminder.
Take care, my friend.
Take care. Thank you, Kira.
Bye-bye.
Bye.
Listen to Revolution Radio at freedomslips.com, and we'll be right